Have you ever felt like the things that used to drive you just don't anymore? Well, today we're going to dive into that exact feeling. It's this profound shift from a life of ambition to one of meaning, like moving from the morning of our lives into the afternoon. And this idea really kicks off with a powerful quote that Dr. Wayne Dyer adapted from Carl Jung. Just think about this for a second. The rules and goals that served you so well in your youth, they don't just become outdated. He says they can actually start to feel like a total lie. That's a pretty heavy thought, right? So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the morning of life. Dr. Dyer calls this the age of ego. And basically, it's a time in our lives when we're dominated by a kind of, well, a false self, one that's built on a few really powerful illusions. The very first illusion gets its hooks in us really early on. It's the idea that I am what I have. You know the drill. It starts with our toys when we're kids, and then it morphs into our cars, our houses, and our bank accounts as adults. The ego's mantra is simple. More is always better, and your self-worth is totally tied to your stuff. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. When your entire identity is wrapped up in what you own, you're living in a state of constant fear. Because, let's be real, possessions can be lost in a heartbeat. And if they go, what happens to your sense of self? It creates a life where you're always protecting and acquiring, instead of, actually living. Okay, next up is the ego's second big idea. The belief that our value comes from our accomplishments. This is the world of achievement, of competition, of always needing to be number one. Life just becomes this giant ladder, and our only job is to climb higher and faster than everybody else. This way of thinking turns life into an absolutely endless race for the next victory, the next promotion, the next big thing. Your worth is always tied to what's coming next, which means you never, ever feel like you've arrived. You're just constantly striving and never just being. And finally, we have the third illusion, which is a huge one for so many of us. The ego convinces you that you are what other people think of you. Your worth becomes a reflection in somebody else's eyes. This makes us into chameleons, right? Always changing who we are depending on the room, just desperately searching for that external validation. Okay, so that's the morning. It's a lot. But now let's totally shift gears. Let's get into the second half of this journey. The afternoon of life, the age of meaning. This is that point where the ego starts to crumble, and we begin searching for something much, much deeper. And you can really see the huge contrast here. The morning is all about ambition, it's striving, it's competing. But the afternoon is about meaning, it's allowing, it's serving. It's a fundamental flip from being pushed around by the ego to being pulled forward by a real sense of purpose. And that sense of purpose has a beautiful name, Dharma. It's a Sanskrit word for your inner calling. Dr. Dyer described it as the unique music that each one of us came here to play. In the afternoon of life, the goal isn't to win the race anymore. It's to finally find and play that music. So, the big question is, how do we make this leap from ambition to meaning? Well, it's usually not some slow, gradual process. It's often triggered by what Dr. Dyer called a quantum moment, a profound, life-altering experience that completely shifts your entire perspective. And these moments have four very distinct characteristics. First, they are incredibly vivid. You remember every single detail for the rest of your life. Second, they're a complete surprise. It almost feels like you're not in control. Third, they're always benevolent, meaning the experience feels profoundly good and right. And finally, the change they bring is enduring. It lasts a lifetime. But hey, this isn't just some nice philosophical idea. There is actual research that documents this incredible shift in our core values. A study called The Moment That Turns Your Values Upside Down actually tracked people's priorities before and after they had one of these quantum moments. And if you look at the data for men, the change is just, wow, it's stark. Before the shift, you see all the classic ego drivers at the top: wealth, adventure, achievement. But after, the whole list is transformed. The number one value becomes spirituality, followed by personal peace and family. And you know what doesn't even make the new list? Wealth. It's gone. For women, the change is just as profound. Before the shift, values often centered on things like family, career, and fitting in. Afterwards, the focus turns completely inward. Personal growth becomes the new number one value, followed by self-esteem and spirituality. It's a clear, powerful move from external obligations to internal fulfillment. To really bring all of this home, Dr. Dyer often told a story that completely shaped his life, and it serves as a powerful warning for all of us who might still be living in the morning of our lives. When he was just 19, he read Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich. The story's about this super successful judge who, on his deathbed, is just filled with rage. He has all the external signs of success, but inside he feels this deep, gnawing emptiness. And as he lies there dying, he looks over at his wife and utters the most haunting words imaginable. What if my whole life has been wrong?
I mean, can you even imagine? That story shook Dr. Dyer to his core. So much so that he wrote a note to himself that became his life's mission. It said, "Dear Wayne, don't die with your music still in you." It was this powerful plea to himself to avoid Ivan Ilyich's fate, to not get to the end of your life and realize you never truly lived.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. We don't have to wait for the afternoon of our lives to make this shift. We don't have to wait for a deathbed realization. The real invitation is to die to the ego now, to let go of the illusions, and to start living from a place of meaning and purpose today. So I'm going to leave you with the very same question that guided Dr. Dyer for his entire life, the one that sits at the very heart of this journey we've been talking about. What music is still inside you? And when are you going to start to play it?